Yo, what is up guys? Blake here bringing you a special video today talking about the new changes coming to PvP with the Caramel update. I just got to look at them right now. I kind of briefly skimmed over it, but I haven't really looked at it. So we're going to go ahead and take a deep look into this video about the new changes coming. I know a lot of people are already aware of it, but I just wanted to make a video with, my commentary and kind of go into detail explaining the reasoning for why this is happening, and also just, to go over what happened so everybody can understand. Also, I'm sorry that I didn't upload a video yesterday. My grandfather passed away, and I just wanted to be there for my mom. I'm okay, and I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for the kind words and just for supporting me through tough times. So I just want to say big thanks. The daily gas will continue, daily streams will continue, all the good stuff. So yeah, I apologize for not uploading yesterday. But yeah, also another cool thing, I will have a storm video tomorrow. I know so many people have been asking for it, but the Max Storm is finally ready, and I can't wait to bring you guys a video on that. So stay tuned, that'll be uploaded tomorrow. Let's go straight into the dev note. Alrighty, so for you guys that don't know, Ratbeard has been releasing these dev diaries pretty frequently, talking about the different changes. I did a video about the crit and block changes coming to the game, which I uploaded, I think, a couple weeks ago. So if you want to check that out, definitely do, because I went into detail about the new crit block change. But let's just get into it. As you guys saw in the thumbnail, or you might have heard before, this new card, Solar Surge, is coming. And it kind of changes how PvP works a lot, for a lot of levels too, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we're just going to go down, read the entire thing, and yeah, just get into it. So, dear fellow PvPers, I want to discuss some interesting changes with you that we intend to release soon, first on Test Realm and then to our live service. Before I do that, I want to provide a TLDR version to our PvE players that will explain how these PvP changes will affect PvE. They won't. You can go to Diego to train the new spell we discussed below, but you probably won't need it. So basically, this is just for anybody that's concerned about PvE changing, because a lot of these changes have been for the benefit of PvP, but they're always kept in mind how it will impact PvE. So it's not that the developers have been like, oh, we just want to fix PvE and we don't care at all about, the just casual players that do PvE or whatever. No, not at all. They really care about the community as a whole, and they want to make sure that things are good. So yeah, this will not have an impact on PvE. It will only have an impact on PvP. Now that we've explained the full impact of these changes for PvE, Ratbeard being sarcastic as always, let's talk about what's coming for PvP. Beginning immediately, PvP sigils will no longer allow any pre-enchanted treasure cards to be drawn from your side deck, exactly as it works in Decathlon. That is wild. That is one of the biggest changes. This is like the biggest change coming to PvP since turn-based. And that was probably the biggest PvP change that ever happened. And this is crazy. This is wild. What is a pre-enchanted TC? If you're used to going to Unicorn Way or Golem Court to enchant TCs for your side deck, these are pre-enchanted TCs. Okay, I mean, that's sort of a good description for somebody who already knows how PvP works. Like, this is a description that makes sense for somebody who already knows what a pre-enchanted TC is. But basically, a pre-enchanted TC is when you make it yourself. So you buy a treasure card enchant. So instead of a trainable enchant that you have in your spellbook, you buy a treasure card enchant. For example, Gargantuan, Monstrous. And then you basically put it in your side deck, and you enchant your main deck spell with the treasure card enchant. And then when you end the battle without using that treasure card, you have now created a new treasure card that you can pack in your side deck. And this has been a very crucial and important part of PvP for a long time. So I know most people know that, but I just wanted to explain anyway. You can use purchased, looted, or crafted TCs in your side deck as before. So basically, all TCs work, like your side deck works the same except for the pre-enchant. So you can still use shields, you can still use, crafted spells, or you can still use purchase spells like, Cold Iron, Ice Bird, stuff like that. All those spells still work. You just can't enchant your own cards from your main deck, if that makes sense. This change affects all pre-enchants, damage, accuracy, cloak, transmute, etc. So this means that you can't pre-enchant anything, which is kind of wild. I'm pretty sure this etc. also implies that you can't do sharpen or potent, stuff like that. So no enchants whatsoever that you create, essentially. Which means you can't pierce or accuracy enchant your scions or, supernova. You can't damage enchant any spells. You can't cloak shields to pack them inside, which is kind of wild. So I think people are gonna do this new thing. Basically, it's kind of gonna shift the meta to where instead of packing, some towers inside deck, but mostly hits, and then, shields, utility, bubs, that kind of thing in main, it's gonna completely switch up to where main deck is your hits, and then side deck is your utility, you know, shields, bubbles, stuff like that. So it's gonna be kind of weird. I don't want to give too much commentary yet until we go over everything, just to get, you know, a full, you know, fully informed picture of what's going on. All current damage enchant spells, strong, giant, monstrous, gargantuan, colossal, and epic, will be marked no PvP and cannot be included in your main deck. TC versions of these spells will also be made no PvP and cannot be included in your side deck. That is wild. Diego has a new spell, Solar Surge, which we intend as a main deck replacement for all prior Sun School damage enchants. So Solar Surge applies only for PvP. All enchants and everything has no effect on how PvE works. This is only for PvP. Because we expect these changes to reduce overall damage in PvP significantly, we will increase the 1v1 ranked match timer to 45 minutes. This will allow more time for fair play and counterplay for players to position themselves for an open hit and require players to land more hits in order for them to win the match. I mean, I agree that the meta right now is a little bit too fast-paced. You kind of just shad, and that's dumb. But I don't think this, like, increasing the timer to 45 minutes, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the timer to begin with. I think that, obviously, you know, you want to prevent people from turtling and, you know, immune sniping and stuff like that and just getting the dub. But at the same time, I mean, I don't really think that a timer, like, especially for lower level PvP, it's not really a good thing. So I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I guess increasing the timer is good for especially low level people, but I don't know. And then the thing is, too, is that these changes are, I don't necessarily think bad. Before anybody, you know, starts to freak out, I think we should understand that all these changes are kind of coming one by one, which is why they seem scary, instead of sort of, here's the big picture, this is what we're doing, right? This is sort of just, this is like a bomb coming out of nowhere, right? But really what this is kind of just, I think, a step in the right direction. Obviously, you can't just nerf damage and then, you know, leave ices, you know, with a ton of resist and stuff. You can't, like, you gotta go on both sides, right? You can't just nerf the damage and then leave gear balancing, spell balancing exactly the same as it is now. So, I don't think this is necessarily a bad idea, and I think this could actually solve a lot of problems with, you know, the meta being too aggressive and just requiring, you know what I mean? A lot of people complain that also, the meta is too much reliant on, like, it's too easy to pull what you need, right? You kind of just, you know, draw, you'll find the hit that you need in your side deck, which I can understand, but I think that also eliminates RNG to some extent, so I have mixed feelings about it, but let's continue onward. Where was the last thing that I read? Oh yeah, the Solar Surge, and then I read this one. We're increasing the match timer by more than is probably necessary. We will review actual match time data in the future and revise the match timer accordingly. Okay. We expect that this change to the meta will be dramatic. Different deck building strategies, more card cycling, more moment-to-moment decision making, more opportunities to make good and bad plays that will ultimately decide the outcome of a match. So this is gonna, I think this is very important in the sense that it is really going to encourage deck building, right? Because you're not going to be able to just bail out and pull the hit that you need, right? And I think that a player who has a better deck build is going to be able to punish you for that, because everybody's going to pack utility in sides now, right? Like, you're just going to have all your shields in side deck, basically, or the majority of them. You might have some in both, but you're going to have most of your shields now in side deck, since you can't really pack hits, right? And so people that deck fail are gonna have to discard a lot from main deck, which is gonna, you know, further push them down the rabbit hole of not being able to attack, and they'll just have to shield spam. And if the other person is ready for that, they can strike and just go to town, and the other person will essentially be defenseless. Or not defenseless, but you're gonna punish them pretty hard. So I think this definitely does encourage deck building, even though you might think, oh, you know, how does this encourage deck building? Main deck is RNG if you don't pull what you need, and to some extent I agree with you, right? But at the same time, I think this does encourage deck building, because the person who has a better deck will deck fail less, even with that RNG factor, and will be able to punish their opponent and create value out of that. So that's kind of interesting. We expect that this change, oh, I already read that, I'm dumb. These changes will be brought to test room and then to the live game. We will solicit your feedback to evaluate these changes for fairness and fun. That's good. Two very important parts of, you know, any game. And we will determine after a suitable trial period on the live game if these changes should be kept, modified, or reverted. This I love. I think this is huge. I think this is absolutely huge. Basically, what Ratbeard is saying is that, listen, I think this is the best for the game. This is the direction that I would like to go, and we're definitely going to test it out. But as the community, you guys have essentially the final say. You know, if we really, really don't like it, or they realize that it's not good, they can either modify it or even revert it completely to just say, listen, we tried this, it didn't work. So I think this is fantastic, right? This just means that the devs are really trying to balance PvP. It might not be in the way that you think is right, but at least you have to understand that they are trying to do that, right? Which I think is huge, and I think this is very important for the game. So the fact that they really care and that they're saying, listen, you know, we're gonna try this, we think this is gonna work, but if it doesn't, we can modify it or revert it, that's huge. So for everybody freaking out, don't worry, because it, you know what I mean, this might not end up going through. We might just end up trying this out. It might be, you know, fun for a couple weeks or whatever, and then we're like, nah, let's not do this, and they'll take it back. So I think that's really cool. As we have said for quite some time, the final days of 4th Age PvP will require us to try lots of new things to make 5th Age the best it can possibly be. Ratbeard MVP. And there's simply no better place for us to evaluate PvP changes like this than the live service. I agree 100%, because as much as Test Realm PvP, you know, you might be thinking, yo, why not just do this on Test Realm? People can test it on there. Unfortunately, not enough people do Test Realm PvP. I think one of the main reasons for that is there's no incentive, right? Everything that happens in Test Realm stays in Test Realm, so you don't get anything out of it, right? Obviously, if you're a hardcore player, you really, really love PvP, you're going to be interested, but for, you know, the casual PvPer or for the average PvPer, why would you do Test Realm, right? Why do you care? You're not going to gain anything out of it, right? You don't get any tickets, you don't get any rank, whatever, you know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter. So I feel like if they added more incentive, like maybe some rewards, like complete 10 PvP games, you get, I don't know, you know, some big sum of tickets that you get in the live realm, or maybe you get like a cool Stitch that's only available in this event or something like, I don't know. I feel like that'd be cool, but since they haven't done anything like that, I think it's important for them to bring it to the live service. And that's another important thing too, is that 4th Age is going to be really, really rocky, but that's okay, because 5th Age is going to be amazing. I'm super duper excited for 5th Age, and it's going to be tough until then. I'm not going to lie, it's pretty, PvP right now is one of the worst metas ever, with Troll Spellment, Warded Behemoth, immune sniping setting, just broken meta, RNG, everything. There's so many problems, you know, but I really do believe that 5th Age is going to be good. So now let's get to, you know, the meat and potatoes. Let's get to like the juicy, just the, you know what I mean, Solar Surge. This is where it's at. We've added Solar Surge as a replacement for the prior damage and chance to address design imbalance inherent to those spells. We've known for a while that the damage and chance, currently plus 300 with the single enchant TC, we're distorting our efforts to rebalance spells along strict DPP guidelines. This is true, right? For example, just take Troll Spellment, the by far, without a doubt, the most broken card in the game, right? The fact alone that it does 200 damage and can break a shield, or even just do 200 damage, and summon a minion that's like incredibly OP for 2 pips is already ridiculously broken. Throw in a 300 extra damage enchant on top of that. I mean, do I even have to explain why that's, like, you know, insanely broken? Because that's what's crazy about it. Like, take like I said, Troll Spellment, right? Even if you do this change, which would essentially make it so that Troll Spellment will only get an extra 100 damage boost, it's still broken. It's still gonna do 300 base damage while being able to potentially break off a shield, or just do decent damage and summon a ridiculously broken minion. So there's a lot of cards. Take Fire Elf, for example, which isn't even, like, crazy with Spellments, right? Adding an extra 300 damage to a card like Fire Elf is what makes it so incredibly good, on top of it just being a 2-pip dot, right? So this is interesting. I think this is going to definitely make it so that a lot of low pip spells aren't as broken as before. Also, this is going to decrease the value of shads, right? 4-pip and 5-pip shads won't get the full value of Solar Surge. I mean, 5-pip shads will get 250, which is, I guess, the same as the TC Garg, so it's not that big of a difference for a spell like that, but I guess it is a slight nerf to all spells that are 5 pips and lower, which I think is a positive change. Positive change for sure. This became particularly evident when we decided to split the Caramel spells into a path that included a 3-pip Shadow spell. Yeah, for you guys that don't know, the Spellament essentially starts at 5-pip for all Caramel Shad spells, and then you can either do 2 pathways. One that can either make it 6 pips or 7 pips, obviously with more damage and stuff, or you can decrease the pips to 4 or 3 with obviously decreased damage, but you can basically choose how many pips you want the Shad for, which is really, really interesting, honestly. But yeah, let's keep going. Adding 300 damage to the DPP of a 3-pip spell, in addition to the 3.6 pips worth of value provided by the Shadow Pips, was the tipping point. Yeah, can you imagine? Like, that would actually be so broken. So, this is good. The damage enchants simply add too much value, made even worse because player can stack their side decks with pre-enchanted hits. Facts. So, you can just pull whatever hits you need whenever you need it, essentially. The side deck in Wiz respects no level restrictions, nor card copy limits. It distorts the power of the sideboard. It devalues deck building and card cycling skills. I agree with this, except for the deck building part to some extent. I think that, this is good for deck building, but I think packing hits inside also decreases RNG to some extent, right? If you're able to pull what you need when you need it, that sideboard allows you to decrease the RNG of, oh, you know, I discarded my entire hand almost, but hey, my main deck, you know, my main deck didn't come through and I just lose. Obviously, you know, deck building is important, and that's why with good deck building, you shouldn't fail that much in your main deck, but it's still, you know, the fact that you need to pull an enchant and you need to pull the hit, that's, you know, quite a bit of RNG, and the fact that you can't manipulate that like you can with your side deck does prevent that. But I agree with this, right? The sideboard is kind of broken, let's be real. Suffice to say, we got a lot of problems with the sideboard, and we're hoping that Solar Surge combined with the new pre-enchant restriction can solve a couple of those problems at the same time, which I think it does. But I think also it's just going to shift how people use the sideboard. The sideboard is going to be just as OP, right? Instead of people packing hits in sideboard, they're going to pack more of their TC hits, for example, Icebird, Cold Iron, stuff like that. They're gonna just pack in all their utility in there as well. So all their set shields they'll get from the bazaar, whatever, they'll pack in their tower shields, they'll pack TC bubbles, just say myth 45 bubbles galore, you know what I mean? So I don't know if this is gonna be there, you know, this isn't some perfect solution, but I think that if you look at the whole big picture, this is a step in the right direction, provided that other changes are made as well, right? Solar Surge works as follows. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory based off this, but I'll read it anyway. When drawn from your main deck and used to enchant an attack spell, also drawn from your main deck, Solar Surge adds 50 damage per pip of the attack spell. Technically, the spell will support 0-pip attacks as well, adding 25 damage. So, I mean, I can't think of a 0-pip damage spell that's enchantable. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm tripping, but it's basically saying if there was ever a 0-pip damage spell that you could enchant, okay, because wands you can't enchant, right? But let's say there was a 0-pip attack that you could enchant, then it would give 25 damage at 0 pips, it would give 50 at 1 pip, and then 50 for each other pip, right? The maximum value that Solar Surge can provide is 300, so the same as Epic, requiring a spell of at least rank 6. A Troll Spellment. Spell 2 pips will only add plus 100 damage, so this is a significant nerf to Troll Spellment, but by no means does it make Troll Spellment balanced, right? Even if you made Troll Spellment non-enchantable, like I said, the fact that you can do 170 to 210 damage on top of breaking a shield potentially, or just doing free damage, and summoning a minion that's worth way more than 2 pips, right? All those things combined just make it's like Rat Illusionist on steroids and crack at the same time. Glowbug's a 6/1 shadow spell. Is it Glowbug 5 pips? I'm so confused. Can add the full 600 damage. Okay, either I'm tripping, or maybe he meant a different spell. Maybe he meant Rusaka. But okay. This is not a perfect solution. I agree, and this is good. I like how Ratbeard is being completely honest and transparent with the community, and this is huge. So, I agree this is not a perfect solution by any means, and I think that this is also just a piece of the puzzle of making 5th Age great, right? I think that a lot of people that don't like this update are not looking at the whole picture of what they're trying to do. They just see this and they say, oh, this is bad. You guys want Jades to be OP. You guys want, you know, healing to be busted. You guys want people to deck fail and stuff like that. And I get why people might think that, but I think also people need to understand that, one, this is just a test. This is just an idea. It may or may not go to the live realm permanently, right? It might just end up being a test. And also, I think that with everything else that is coming to 4th Age and eventually 5th Age, I think that this might be for the best of the game. So I'm gonna give it a you know, I'm gonna give it my everything, right? When it does come out to the test room or live room, I'm definitely gonna experiment with it, make a video on it, give you guys my feedback and stuff. I think it's a little bit too early to say, you know, just right now, whether or not this will be good or bad for the game, and that's exactly why I think Ratbeard and the devs want to test it out in the game, which I think is fantastic. So I'm super excited for that, and yeah, it should be fun either way. Even if it ends up being a flop or, you know, a total L or people don't like it, you know, it'll just be like for a little bit, and it'll just be cool to play like, you know, a different meta and stuff. So I think it's really really cool that we as a community are basically, we get to test this out firsthand, and we are the voice of the changes that are coming to the game. So I think that this is all overall pretty good. Players will still be able to enchant their rank 6+ spells, including shadow spells, with an additional 300 damage, right? So any spell that's 6 pips or higher gets the full 300 damage, right? However, there are some significant limits imposed on this power. Solar Surge must be carried and drawn from main deck. So there is no Solar Surge TC, and that means that Solar Surge does, oh yeah, it says it here. Solar Surge must abide by main deck card copy limits. So this is really gonna hurt, decks that give you only, like, this is really gonna hurt decks that don't give you universal copies. So for example, the Paradox deck, which works pretty well for offensive schools like Fire and Storm in PvP, even though personally I think the Duelist deck is better, it only has 4 max copies. So that would mean that you'd only be able to pack in 4 Solar Surges. So this is really gonna encourage decks that allow you to have 6 or more universal copies in your main deck, which is kind of weird, honestly. So the fact that you're only going to be able to have 6 enchants total means that you're going to have to take some hits without enchants probably, unless you're in a very aggressive matchup like, I don't know, Storm versus Storm, Fire versus Fire, that kind of thing, Myth versus Myth, something like that. So this is kind of interesting. The attack spell you wish to enchant must also be carried in the main deck and drawn at the same time. Right. So essentially what that means is that you have to pull Solar Surge and you have to pull the hits to enchant it, obviously, right? You need to enchant Solar Surge to the hit, so you need to have both cards in your hand at the same time, and it only can come from your main deck. In conclusion, we're hoping that these changes shake up the current meta. True, 4th Age might be a bit chaotic. Hello? That's, I would say that's a bit of an understatement. 4th Age PvP is extremely chaotic, and in my opinion, right now, one of the worst metas, ever in the game, but at least it will be interesting, and I do, believe very much in Ratbeard and the dev team in what's coming to PvP, and, I have very high hopes, and I'm very confident that 5th Age PvP, when it does come out, which I think will be most likely summer 2021 or fall 2021, but when it does come out eventually next year, I think it's going to be amazing. So I think we just got to stick with the process, keep trying what works, what doesn't, and just go from there. So yeah, and we want to reiterate that some of these changes we're testing here may very well be changed. This is important. Like I said, if we end up not liking this as a community, then it's not going to come to the game. So I know some people are freaking out about this. I had a lot of people message me on Discord, but I would just say don't trip about it. Wait for it to actually come into the game. Wait for you to actually try it firsthand, and then let's go from there. This might be a fantastic system. It's just you need to do gear balancing and stat balancing first, right? Or you need to make sure that Jades can't, you know, go ham, right? So I think that overall this might be what's best for the game, but I think that other things need to be implemented first for that to happen, right? You got to look at the whole picture, like I said. As always, we will do our best to communicate our design intentions to you clearly with as much notice as we can, and listen closely to your feedback. I like that. Listening to the community is very, very important, and this is basically saying, like, you guys get to decide what's happening, right? They're going to implement stuff and, you know, guess and check and trial and error and see what works and what doesn't, but at the end of the day, we as the community have the final say, which I think is fantastic. So shout out to Ratbeard and the dev team for doing a great job. I think this is really cool. Like I said, I know a lot of people are unhappy about it, but I think the most important things to remember are, one, they're trying something, right? So whether or not you agree with it, the fact that they are trying something and they are trying to make PvP better is a good thing. And two, the fact that they're saying that it's not permanent. They're not just saying this is what we want, so we're gonna put it in the game. They want to test it. They want to see what people think. So I think that's really cool that at the end of the day we get the final say. And last but not least, I think people need to wait, because, you know, on paper something might look really dumb or really good, and then when you actually test it out, it's a whole different story, right? So this is all very, very game changing and very interesting and very different than what we know, of course, but I think also reading this and actually seeing how it plays out in the live game are two completely different things, right? So for those of you that are skeptical or that don't like this, I would just, you know, keep your skepticisms and be vocal about it, but also wait till you can experience it firsthand and also understand that this is not necessarily a permanent change. So I'm pretty excited to play with this. I'll definitely make some videos about it, like I said, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really wanted to go into detail and just explain everything. I will be doing Storm PvP tomorrow on the YouTube channel, my first video on the Max Storm. I'm so excited. It's been a lot of fun playing playing on that guy. I do also stream every single day if you want to check that out too. Check out my Twitch because I do post new video. I do stream basically every single day, and sub if you're new because I post new videos. So yeah, I'd really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out, guys.